A big part of my mission personally is to help encourage people who are maybe reticent to start using these tools. So I want to introduce you to 6 magic words that have been really formative for me in my life, and then also give you 3 reasons why, if they're true for me, they're true for you. To do that, I need to introduce you to my parents, Louis and Levon Acey. They live in Austin, Minnesota, as do I. Dad turns 80 next month, and he's on Facebook. Actually, women over 55 are the fastest growing demographic in Facebook, so the whole thing about the population being so young globally is really interesting and everything, but it doesn't particularly matter because when you have 500 million people on Facebook, it's the really good place to be. Willie Sutton said he robbed banks because that's where the money is. You know, if you want to reach people, Facebook is the place to reach them. But that's a little bit of a side point. The real reason I wanted to introduce you to these magic words is that as we were driving down the highways and byways of southern Minnesota 40 years ago or so, my mom and dad had this thing where as we were driving by somebody with running a road grader or a jackhammer or some other kind of complex piece of machinery, they'd kind of look at each other with a knowing smile, and maybe even count down mentally in their head, knowing that within just a few seconds from the back seat where I was sitting, a voice would pipe up much higher in pitch than it is now. But it would pop up and say, well, I'll bet I can do that. And I don't really remember myself saying that, but I do really remember my mom and dad, or particularly my dad, saying, well, probably you can, okay? That he was really encouraging to try things. And so that's what I hope to, and what I hope you'll get through this whole experience today is some of that I'll bet I can do that spirit. Because I think it'd be really unfortunate if you'd see the things that people here on the panel are doing or that we're doing at Mayo Clinic and say, well, yeah, that's great for them, but I couldn't do that. Here are 3 reasons why if I can do this stuff, you can do this stuff. The first, this is my 4th grade report card. My mom found it and thought it would be encouraging to give to me for Christmas last year, I guess. And anyways, it says, Lee's work has been average this period in all areas. So this was obviously before the Garrison Keillor time when everybody was above average. But as it says at the bottom, Lee has difficulty keeping track of his papers. Occasionally he's late handing in assigned work. When we clean his desk, it's amazing what we find. So some things never change. But so even though I was giving my parents ample reason to disbelieve me when I said, I'll bet I can do that, still they were encouraging about it. I did marry way above my station 26 years ago this month, and this is my wife, Lisa. She'll come into the story here in a little bit. But so here's the second reason. I begin my presentations with my highest degree of educational attainment for a couple reasons. First, because BS and political science just kind of go together. But then also, in a room like this, in most situations, I will be among the least formally educated people in the room. I mean, most people have at least a bachelor's degree. And so what I really want to emphasize is that this doesn't require a lot of formal training. Doesn't require higher education to be able to do this stuff. It requires some Midwestern common sense and some creativity, thinking about how you can use these tools. The second part of this slide highlights my experience at Mayo Clinic as I started in media relations at Mayo, telling the story about Mayo research and patient stories, and really emphasizes the continuity between what I was hired to do and what I'm doing now. That these tools aren't just fancy new shiny gadgets to try. They are more powerful ways to do the work that you're already doing. So if you're doing advertising, if you're doing marketing, these are better ways to do that. Okay, a third reason. The young lady on the right is my granddaughter, so I'm a grandpa. So mediocre elementary school, BS in political science, and grandpa, okay? But also, Evelyn Grace Borg owes her life to Facebook, okay? She wouldn't be alive today if it wasn't for Facebook, because the young man who's now her father was at University of Wisconsin La Crosse about 5 years ago, put in a search term theology on Facebook, searching at UW La Crosse. My daughter Rachel, who was going there at the time, had the same last name as I did, or as I do. Anyway, her last name, AASE, put her right up at the top of the list of people who matched that search term. I'm thinking it's more her picture than being the #1 search result that caused him to poke her. But he did poke her on Facebook, and she messaged back, and yeah, three weeks of conversation on Facebook. They met at Caribou Coffee in December 2005. 4 hours later, Rachel picked up the phone, called my wife Lisa. They talked for about a half an hour, and when Lisa hung up the phone, she turned to me and said, I think they're going to get married after the first date. It's because Facebook helped them make that connection on things, they had the real fundamental things in common like theology, and then it was just a matter of whether there's chemistry or not, and I guess there was. But the other thing that Evelyn has helped to show me is the power of some of these other technologies, whether it's Facebook or one that's eerily suspicious or similar to the Jetsons. You remember Mr. Spacely showing up on the video screen, and they would be able to talk back and forth from the office. And I remember if you would ask me 5 years ago, what would it cost to have video phones like that? I would have said like $5 a minute or something like that. Well, this is a conversation. Well, it wasn't much of a conversation because this is with Evelyn and my now 8-month-old grandson. But this is a conversation that I had from Sweden with them last week. They now live in Grand Rapids, Michigan, so they're about 550 miles away from us. When I was raising my kids, my oldest kids, we were living in the Twin Cities. My parents saw them probably every 6 weeks or so, because that's just kind of how it works. I see Evelyn and Judah just about every day, and my wife certainly does, and it's because of Skype. Anybody know how much that costs? It's $0, and it's free. It's really amazing. I started my transition from the mainstream media relations to social media in 2006. I had been given the responsibility for social media at Mayo Clinic. And I thought, well, if I'm going to do this blogging thing, maybe I should just get one of my own. I should start out and make my mistakes on my own account instead of on behalf of Mayo Clinic. They're kind of uptight about that thing. So anyway, I was one of 50 million blogs at the time. I created a blog called Lines from Lee. Didn't know what it was going to be about, but I just knew I needed to get that experience so that I would know the ways of blogging, become a blogging Jedi or whatever. But in late 2007, I was in Chicago for it's called the Association Forum of Chicagoland. It's sort of like the National Association of Associations. It's all these organizations that have their headquarters in Chicago. They asked me to do a Facebook 101 course, 20 minutes on Facebook. And I got some in-depth questions, and I kind of joked, well, that's in the 201 class. And they got me to thinking, wow, I could sort of reposition my whole blog, rebrand it, and turn it from the kitchen sink PR, New Media, and GTD to Social Media University Global, or SMUG. And so as you see, I named myself the Chancellor. When you create a university, you can give yourself a great title. Our Latin phrase in the seal is, it's not that hard. Okay, so that's the whole point of this. That instead of having sort of a mishmash, well, by the way, this is Old Main. This is our main campus building in Austin. But we do have an oak-shrouded campus with ivy-covered walls. And then these are the core courses in the curriculum, so you can do the Social Media 101, Intro to Social Media, Intro to RSS, Intro to Wikis, kind of step-by-step work through it. The blogging curriculum, the Facebook curriculum, the podcasting curriculum, the Twitter curriculum. And here's where you go to enroll. The good news is there's no tuition, so no FAFSA form is required. You are responsible for your own room and board, however. But what's kind of neat is we've got a group, we call the student body the Smuggles. Kind of like in the Harry Potter books, the Muggles were the ordinary people with no magical abilities. That's what Smuggles are too. We got more than 1,000 people in that Facebook group from 6 continents. And it's just really astonishing that for nothing you can reach the world like that. Part of what I've done with this, I want to provide just a little bit of historical context because as was said earlier, we have, some question about whether this is a passing fad or not. I want to assure you that it most definitely isn't. But just to put it in historical context, it was on October 31st, 1517, 493 years ago, that an Augustinian monk, I got to get that right, Augustinian monk named Martin Luther nailed his, what we now know as his 95 Theses, to the church door in Wittenberg to start a discussion, written in Latin, meant to be just starting a local discussion among academics. Well, because of a technological invention, the Gutenberg printing press that was just a few decades old at the time, his was the first viral communications. They were translated into German, spread throughout Germany in 2 weeks, spread throughout Europe in 2 months, and it said so in Wikipedia, so I know it's true. So, at any rate, I decided to follow up with this 492 years later with 35 social media theses, just because I couldn't think of 95 things to say. I want to deal with 3 of them today, just to sort of set this up. And then I've got a little bit of an interesting twist, I think, at the end. There is a PDF version of this if you want to download and nail to your office door or something, too, I'm sure. I mean, some of you are the owners, so you have the right to do that, but otherwise, check with your supervisor. First thesis. Anybody heard of Seth Godin? Know who Seth Godin is? Okay, I'd really recommend that you read anything he's ever written. It's really good stuff. He talks about the concept of skeuomorphs and when you're trying to make change in an organization. And he says it's really dumb if you want to make a change to say, oh wow, hey, here's this new thing, you've never seen anything like it before. What he says the best way to make a change is to say, this is just like that, only different and better. Okay, that's what a skeuomorph is. So thesis 1 is a skeuomorph. Talks about how social media really aren't new, that the first social medium is air, sound waves going through air, because if you look at what a definition of a medium is, it's a means by which something's communicated or expressed. So that word of mouth is the first social medium. For Mayo Clinic, it's been important for 100 years that people, we do our research with people who have a preference for Mayo Clinic, and they say that word of mouth, a recommendation from another patient is the number one reason for their preference. Physician recommendation is another kind of word of mouth, that's number 3, and in between stories in the news media. The great thing about these, the skeuomorph with social media, and with Facebook in particular, is that it takes that power, that broad reach that can get you 1,000 smuggles on 6 continents, but also has that power of the personal recommendation. So it blends it together. And so that's the second of the 3 theses we'll deal with. These electronic tools just make that word of mouth spread faster. It's just the new way that word of mouth happens in the 21st century. So this is our Mayo Clinic Facebook page. And you see on the bottom a woman named Shannon Swing wrote there. She says, July 24th, 2008, leiomyosarcoma tumor removal. Thanks for saving my life, Mom of 4 in Wisconsin. Now it's great that 500 million people on Facebook could see that, but what's more important is that Shannon's friends see that, that she wrote on Mayo Clinic's wall. I'm not thinking that too many people are going to say, I think I'll go get a colonoscopy at Mayo Clinic because of that. So it's not like an immediate marketing sort of thing. On the other hand, as they are running up maybe 10 years from now with some kind of problem that they're not getting an answer, Mayo Clinic might be more likely to be in their consideration set for a place where they go for a second or a third opinion. And so the last of the theses, I invite you to check them all out because I think they're all good because that's why I wrote them. But thesis 4, social media are the defining communication trend of the 3rd millennium. So if you look at from about 1500 to about 1900, the defining mass communications trend was the printing press. Gutenberg's printing press, the newspaper, made it possible for one person with enough money to buy a printing press and paper and ink can communicate broadly. Marconi, that's this guy here, invented radio or discovered radio or whatever you do with radio, but with radio and TV, made it possible for people to get an FCC license and a radio tower, a TV tower, and reach broadly. When I originally did this slide, it was kind of a play on words, or kind of a tongue-in-cheek joke, because Gutenberg and Zuckerberg just kind of rhyme. But when you really think about it, Gutenberg made mass literacy possible. People wouldn't be reading today without Gutenberg because there's nothing to read. I mean, back before Gutenberg, there was nothing to read, so why would you teach anybody to read? And while it might be, you might think it's a little bit of an overstatement that Zuckerberg made global mass publishing possible, as I thought about it more, it's really not. I mean, he's building on a lot of other work done by a lot of other people. But on the other hand, 3 years ago when I started my blog, there were 50 million blogs. Today there are 500 million people, 10 times as many people, publishing regularly to the web. And so he may not have made it possible, but he made it fun, he made it interesting, and made it so that my dad, who turns 80 next month, is on Facebook, so he can see videos of his great-grandson and great-granddaughter. I want to just kind of close by asking, anybody have one of these? Yellow Pages ad, okay? You got a Yellow Pages ad, okay. Did anybody get it for free? Did anybody have it just like given to them or anything? Okay, didn't think so. Okay, so if you're spending money on a Facebook, or excuse me, if you're spending money on a Yellow Pages ad that doesn't have the opportunity to have photos, doesn't have the opportunity to have video, doesn't have links that people can connect to your website. I mean, you can publish it there, but you can't actually click on something. So if you're spending money on that, why wouldn't you do the free thing?
Well, thank you for coming today. This is amazing, first and foremost, that we have this many people. I think it just goes to show how interested people are in social media as business owners. I threw this slide in here as my first slide, and it's kind of hard to see, but it's basically a graph. And this is the reason I think we're all here today. That top line there is Facebook traffic. The blue one is Twitter, and the bottom one is LinkedIn. As you can see, the growth with social media, and Facebook in particular, has been just phenomenal. I mean, we're talking about 500 million people now. And actually, I think Mark Zuckerberg was on 60 Minutes on Sunday. I think he said 550 million is what he said on Sunday. So it seems to be growing, continued growing exponentially. I think it's relatively saturated here in the United States, but they just opened, I heard they're just hiring 100 people in Dublin. So now they're expanding into Europe, and it just continues to grow. But this is the reason, you have 500 million people, or 550, pick a number, half of which are going to the site every day, and they're spending an average of 27 minutes every time that they're there. Okay? That's a huge amount of traffic. I mean, it just hasn't happened before where we have this much traffic. And as you can see, the growth continues there. We're talking about Facebook today because, I mean, look at the difference between the number of people who are on Facebook and the number on Twitter. Now, Twitter had a great year last year. They had, I heard they added 100 million users last year, which is phenomenal. But we're talking about 550 million with Facebook. I did a few quick searches on how many were local here. If you look on Facebook, there's at least 80,000 people in our local area on Facebook. On Twitter, there was about 1,000. Do you know the exact number? I think it's about 1,000 is the research I can tell that are in the local area that are on Twitter. Okay? So from a business standpoint, I want to be where the people are, right? And that's where we want to be. And I think this graph shows that Facebook is where things are at. Now I got to tell you a little story because I was doing this with my wife, and I showed her this chart, and she brought up the comment of like, well, where's MySpace? What happened to MySpace? And I was like, well, MySpace is kind of, that was 4 years ago or so, and it's not really used for business anymore, and it's kind of a dying thing, and it's not really the cool thing anymore. She looked at me and she goes, oh, so if MySpace was a celebrity, it'd be on Dancing with the Stars. I'm like, yeah, you got it. So what we need to understand is that social media is all about the people, okay, first and foremost. We as business owners want it to be about sales. We want it to be about making money, right? That's what we want, okay? But social media is about relationships first and foremost. That's what it's around for, so people can interact and talk with each other. And we need to understand that there's this new thing called permission-based marketing. We as marketers have been so used to dealing with interruption-based marketing, things like billboards. We drive by, we see a billboard, we're listening to a radio station and an ad comes on. We're watching TV and an ad comes on. Well, what we need to understand is that the young people of today, they don't want any part of that. They're willing to actually pay money to not have to see a TV ad. They'll pay money to DVR it so they can skip through it. They'll pay money for XM satellite radio so that they don't have to listen to commercials. Okay, they'll get spam filters so they don't have to get spam in their inbox. And we have to figure out a better way to connect with them. Okay, we need to allow them to give us permission to market to them, and that's what essentially Facebook does. They have to like us, and it's just as easy they can like us, they can unlike us, right? They can get rid of us just like that. Okay, so it's permission-based. We need to get their permission to market to them. We need to understand that demand is out. In business, we always used to have demand and supply, and if there was enough demand, we'd make money and we'd sell things, right? It's no longer necessarily true. We're moving into an era where experiences, good, bad, or indifferent, are really everything. People want experiences now. You can get a cup of coffee anywhere. Quick Trip's got it, Starbucks got it, Caribou, they all have it, right? But what people are buying is the experience that they have with you. That's what they're willing to pay money for, because they can probably get your product or service anywhere. There's a lot of it out there. So what you need to focus on is what experience are you providing for your clients. That's the important thing, and that's what the people care about. The other thing we have to recognize is we need to tear down the walls, I think, in our companies. If you're a smaller company, it's not so transparent, but the bigger you are, I think the more walls go up between different departments. You've got marketing department, you've got sales department, you've got your customer service department. And a lot of the where good things happen is in your customer service department, right? Those are the people who get all the feedback about your product. That's where you find out where people complain, right? They call and they talk to customer service. Well, if the customer service doesn't talk to marketing and sales, how are you going to know what's going on? So that's what social media does. It allows us to hear what's going on from the people all over the place. It allows us to essentially communicate directly and quickly with our clients and our prospects and our customers. I threw this in here because when I looked through the pre-survey that we sent out to you guys as far as what you wanted to learn today. And there were some different things on there for those of you who remember. It was like, I want to learn how to turn likes into sales. I want to learn how to get more fans. I want to learn how to use coupons and deals and specials, okay? And we got some data back on that. And the interesting thing was what you wanted to learn was the totally exact opposite of why people are going to like you. It was the exact opposite. And I'll go through that in here in just a minute. But so why do people fan you or like you on Facebook? Okay? 40% of them wanted to receive a discount or coupon or promotion. That's why they said that they're willing to like a company. So they want to get something for free. That was the last thing that you guys selected you want to learn about today. You all want to learn how to make money, right? That's all we care about as business people, is making money. But all they care about is getting something for free. Okay? We need to understand that as business owners. It's not about what we want, it's about what they want, and we have to give it to them. 39% said they did it just to support a friend. A friend sent it off to them, said, I want you to like this page, and they're like, oh, I'm friends, so I guess I'll like it because, I'll help them out. 34% said to stay informed, 33% said to get updates on future products, but only 13% said they wanted to share ideas and give feedback, which is what we want, right? We want to know what they're thinking. We want to know how we can be better, how we can serve them better. But really, that's the last thing they care about, is giving you feedback in your company. I also threw this in here because I get this question a lot too. Why should I get involved with this social media thing? Why do I care about getting fans? So what's a fan worth? There was 2 studies on them. Well, actually, the answer to that is that depends. That's the God-honest truth. It really depends what a Facebook fan is worth. But I can tell you without a doubt, it is somewhere between $3.60 and $136.38. Somewhere in that range. And I know this because there was 2 studies that were done. There was a SynCap study. They're the ones that came up with $136.38 is what a fan is worth. But in their study, they took into things that matter to business like us, like 28% of those people who they studied said they were more likely to use the product or the service that that company had if they liked them. 68% said they were more likely to recommend the product or service to somebody else. Okay, that's important. 81% felt that they were connected to the company that they liked. So they really took into like sales value and what's the research value of a company in claiming how much the fan is worth. There was another study called the Vitrue study. They were the ones that came up with $3.60, and they took a very mathematical approach to that. And they basically took the same approach of if you had to buy the ads on Facebook for each impression that you got from a fan, what would that be worth? So they basically said 1 million impressions. If you had 1 million fans and you posted something out there, you did that 2 times a day for 30 days. That gives you 60 million impressions. The average cost of those impressions on Facebook for 1,000 is $5 for a cost for 1,000. Okay, that gives you $300,000. Times that by 12 months is 3.6 million. Divide that by the 1 million fans. Voila, you got $3.60. Now, the value to you for each Facebook fan has to be determined based, I think, on your company. You know, what are you going after? Is it research? Is it sales? Okay. But my personal opinion is it's somewhere between these two. $3.60 and $136.38. $50, somewhere in there. But even so, it's a substantial amount of money. I mean, the average company, you can very quickly throw a Facebook page up, get 100 fans, you know, of your customers that like you. Even if it's $50, you know, that's still a decent amount of money that's worth to you as a tangible item. So the first thing you need to do that I always tell people is develop a strategy. And what I'm going to do, I see all you have pens and papers, this is great. I want you to write stuff down as I go here. Because I'm going to give you a 7-step plan of how to basically do and market with Facebook. Okay? I'll tell you when to write things down. But the first thing you need to do, so many people just jump right in and they go, yep, let's make a Facebook page and throw it out there and see what happens. And they forget half of the first 5 steps I'm going to tell you. And that's where they really mess up, and that's where they don't, I think, see the value in it in the long run. The first thing you need to understand is you need to be committed. Now, I think you are all here today, obviously, because you want to learn more about this. But as companies, we need to embrace it, first and foremost. Okay? It does take a little bit of work. I mean, it takes a staff, and it takes some time to do it right. It does. But I think it's worth it in the long run. The second thing you need to do is really get a champion. And that might be you here today, frankly, because you got sent here by somebody or you signed up. But you're the one that's interested in social media. So a lot of times you may end up being the champion. You know, with Mayo Clinic, Lee, I think you were the champion. You were the guy that said, I think this is something, and I think we should start doing this, and you got a blog, and you started going with it. Somebody usually in your company says, we need to do this, and I'm going to start rolling with it, and let's go. Okay, it always starts usually with somebody. But the next thing here is what you really need to do too, is it's going to take a champion, but you really need to empower, I think, everyone in your company. There was a study that was shown that those companies that really embraced it and they empowered all of their employees to get involved in social media and not just have one person or a social media team, but it was really all of your employees. Maybe they're sitting there at night, you know, at home, and they see something about your company. You want them to act. You want them to make a comment. You want them to help you, right? You don't just want them to ignore it. So you need to empower everyone in your company to want to be involved with it, not just one person or one team. So step 1, write this down. Develop a social media policy. That sounds boring, doesn't it? You thought it was going to be something fun, like make a Facebook page. Develop a social media policy. I think this is going to be more and more important. Are there any lawyers here today? Oh, there's one. I'll try to be nice. We're starting to see it now, where we're starting to see lawsuits over what employees do. We're starting to see some bad press over things that employees said, things like that. This is why I think it's so important. You know, 5 years ago, we all needed to have a privacy policy with our companies. I think you need to have a social media policy. And if you email me after the show or hit me up on Facebook, I will give you a very simple social media policy that you can throw on your website and implement tomorrow. It doesn't have to be complex. You don't need to hire an attorney. Sorry to the attorneys back there. But you can do this yourself. Basically, all it needs to say is it needs to have guidelines for your employees. Okay? What should they be doing? What can and can they not do? What do you expect from them? And essentially, you should tell them to write about what they know, write about what they love, write about what they're passionate about. Whether that be a blog post or whatever, but they should get involved with what they know and what they love. You need to tell them to be ethical, honest, and respectful. Okay? That's what social media is all about. If they're out there bashing other people and doing other things, you don't want them representing your company. Okay? So you need to instill upon them that they need to be ethical, honest, and respectful. You need to have in your policy that you have zero tolerance for discrimination. Okay? It's a big one because it'll get you a lawsuit if they say something or do something. And the lines are really blurred between whether they're acting as a representative of your company or they're acting on their own. Okay? So you should have in your policy that there's zero tolerance for discrimination. You should also have in there what should not be disclosed. Okay? Financial reports, things you talk about at your company. Maybe it's that sale that's coming up that nobody knows about yet or the special promotion that you're going to launch. Okay? It's not their business to be launching, telling the world before your marketing department has a chance to launch it. Okay? And you need to tell them that they can't do that. Okay? It's not appropriate. Okay? The last thing that should be in there should be what happens if they mess up. Okay? They need to know that it's important that if you mess up, it could cost us financially, it could cost us a lawsuit, and if it's really bad and you screw up really bad, you could get fired from this. Okay? So you need to have that in your policy, I think. It's important. Step 2, educate your employees. Write that down. So now that you have your privacy policy, you need to educate your employees on what's in it. Okay, it doesn't do any good to write a policy, throw it in a drawer somewhere, or post it up on your, on the bottom of your page if you don't do anything with it. So you need to educate your employees. Okay, first thing you need to do, encourage involvement. Really encourage everybody in your company to get involved with it. Especially though, if they want to get involved, have them be involved. You need to review those policies and guidelines, go through it with them, explain. Okay, here's what we expect you to do. Here's what can happen if you mess up, and explain everything that you have in there. And then for bigger companies, I think you should have an ongoing training program. If you're a small company and there's just a couple of you, this might be you just get together once or every 2 weeks and maybe talk about how it's going, okay? What's happened? Has anything bad happened? Anything good happened? What are our successes? What are our failures? And maybe just get together. In a bigger company, I imagine you guys probably now, you have the Center for Social Media. You're probably starting to train other departments and things like that on what they should and should not do. So it depends on the size of your company, how seriously you need to take this, but I think it's good to at least get together and discuss it once in a while. So you need to educate your employees. Second step. All right, so now we got our policy, and we educate our employees. Now we're ready to create a Facebook page, right? No, we're not even close to being ready. Step 3, define your purpose. Everybody's so excited to create those Facebook pages. Yeah. Define your purpose is your next step. There are only 5 ways to use social media. Write that down. There's only 5 ways to use social media. Your company needs to know which of those 5 ways you're going to use. The first way is branding. Write that down. You can use social media for branding your company. This is identity campaigns, all the typical marketing terms of branding. It's typically done with YouTube. YouTube is probably the biggest vehicle that's going on right now for using branding for social media. I got a short little video for you. Some of you may have seen it, some of you have not, but it's a great video called The Swagger Wagon.
Yeah, this one goes out to all you minivan families out there. Sienna SC in the house.
Where my mother, father's at?
Where my kids at?
Where my kids at? Where my kids at? Where my kids at? Where my kids at? Where my kids at?
No, seriously, honey, where are the kids?
They're right there, see?
Oh, who these?
I roll hard through the streets and the cul-de-sacs, proud
proud parent of an honor roll student, Jack. I got a swing in the front, a tree house in the back. My #1 dad mug says, yeah, I'm the Mac.
I'm the world's best nurse when my kids get sick. I make a mean gel mold. I perfected my trick back when
All right, so you get the idea. Has anybody seen that video before? It was viral. There was also one that Old Spice did a video this summer, and they increased their sales. It was a video they did. They increased their sales by like 100% in the month of July from a catchy video like that, okay? It's a great way to brand your company, comical videos, but branding is the first way that you can use social media, okay? Most commonly done with YouTube. The second way is e-commerce. Write that down. The second way that you can use social media is with e-commerce. These are the people who have a tangible product to sell, and something that would usually sell well. I think Dell is probably the greatest example of this on Twitter. I mean, they have had an enormous amount of sales using Twitter for e-commerce. They're selling products, they're selling computers. Here's how this works. It's really simple. You know, on Twitter, they got 1.1 million followers, or 1.5 million followers on Twitter. So they sent out a tweet for this special because they know that what people want on social media is coupons, discounts, and specials. So they've embraced that. And they send out a special that they have on this certain computer. 50,000, they send it out to 1.5 million. 50,000 actually see it. And I'll explain why that is later, that only 50,000 of them saw it. 500 of those people actually click through on the link that's in the tweet that they send out. 50 of those people purchase it. And it generates $25,000 for them because the product was, I guess it'd be $500. Every time they send a tweet, they make $25,000. It's a pretty good gig, right? That's what Dell is doing, okay? Obviously, they had to get the 1.5 million followers, but they did that by offering something good. People were interested in the specials. They were interested in what they had to offer. So they were willing to let them into their life, okay? So e-commerce, actually selling a product, taking your followers and converting it into sales. It's the second way that you can use social media. The third way is research. Write that down. Third way that you can use social media is research. A great example for this is My Starbucks Idea. Has anybody heard of that? Couple. Starbucks took their fans and they said, we're going to use them for research. We're going to use them to make our brand better. We want to know what they think. So they came up with this My Starbucks Idea. People can submit ideas to Starbucks on ways that they think Starbucks could be better. You know, it comes from anything to the holders, to the covers, to the lids, and people could submit ideas, and then the fans can vote them up or down based on how good of idea they think they are. If they get voted up high enough, Starbucks implements it. Pretty great concept, huh? They got their own R&D department for free. Plus, they're engaging their fans and getting feedback from them. Okay? So research, it's a third way that you can use social media. The fourth way is customer retention. Write that down, customer retention. This is essentially customer service, okay? You can use social media for customer service and getting feedback from your clients and your customers. Those of us who are in business know that it's 5 times easier to keep an existing customer than it is to go find a new one, right? So why don't we invest a little bit of time in customer service and using social media to retain the ones we have, to build the relationship with the clients that we do have, okay? It just makes sense. The other thing we can do here is turn angry people into advocates, okay? I remember I said before it's all about experiences. Yes, they might have a bad experience with you, and they might complain about it on Facebook, but if you know about it, you can then go and turn that bad experience into a good one, right? Which ironically, they then turn into advocates. They say, wow, look what they did for me. You know, they screwed up and they did this, and then they sent me this gift basket in the mail. It was amazing. They start telling friends about it, okay? So you turn angry people into advocates. The last way, the fifth and final way that you can use social media is for lead generation. This is probably one that a lot of people are interested in, especially as businesses. The simple way that we do that is to build trust via helpful, useful information. And this is really what my company's been doing for probably 4 years. We started with blog posts, but basically send out useful information to people that they're interested in getting. This is what blogs are all about, right? People write articles as far as what do people want to hear about? What do they want to learn about? What's interesting? You know, if you're If you're a builder, it could be, in your newsletter, you're talking about the importance of changing your filters and how that'll add life to your furnace. I mean, what do people want to know? What do they want to learn? So we're not trying to sell to them. We're just trying to educate them about your product, your service, or your industry. That's all we're doing. By doing that, we build trust. Trust is very important in relationship-based businesses, especially if you're business-to-business service. I mean, some people will buy, if it's an airline ticket, they're just going to buy it because it's the best price, right? But if you're a professional service and a lawyer, attorney, a web company, accountant, okay, they want trust, okay? They want to work with somebody that they trust. And this is a great way to do it. And that's the fifth way that you can use social media is to build trust. All right, so now we're ready to get started, right? No. There's one more important thing that you need to understand with social media. And this is step 4, to understand timing with social media. Timing is everything when it comes to social media. With social media, there's a constant flow of information. For those of you who are the 20% of you people who filled out the survey and said you weren't even on Facebook, you probably don't understand this. But for those of you who are on Facebook, at least on a personal level, you understand that you have a wall, right? And your news feed just keeps going. And if you don't check in for a day, everything that happened a day ago is way down on the bottom, and what just happened 30 seconds ago is at the top, okay? Same thing if you're on Twitter. Most recent tweets are always first. Everything else gets buried. So it's a constant flow of information. That's radically different than email, okay? And you need to understand that. When you go away for 3 days on a business trip and you come back, you go through every single email, don't you? Every one of them. You delete one, you check it, you mark it as read. You go through every single one and you look at every one of them. You don't do that on Facebook, do you? You don't go back, if you're gone for 3 days and look through your every one. What did everybody say? You don't do that. Okay? So you have to understand that timing is completely different, and it's important when it comes to social media. There's a study that said the average life of a tweet is 8 minutes. After that, its value becomes worthless. Because it's so far down, and this obviously depends on how many followers people have or friends they have, because they get more stuff, right? You got more followers, more friends, more information's getting thrown in there. But the life of the tweet was only 8 minutes, okay? So if you're up at 3 a.m., in your pajamas, deciding you're going to do this social media thing, sending out tweets, well, sorry, because 3:20 a.m., it's no longer useful. Nobody's going to see it when they wake up at 8 a.m. So there was a study, Vitru did another study. They took 3 years of data, 1,500 brands. There was 1.6 million posts that they analyzed, 7.56 million comments that they put in their study and they analyzed, trying to figure out when should we tweet and when should we do Facebook status updates. When is the best time to do that? And the study found, based on all the data of when people interacted the most, write this down, was 11 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Those were the times that the most people interacted back or commented on things or purchased things or got involved. Weekdays were obviously the biggest. Wednesday was the biggest day of when people seemed to be most interactive or chatty on Facebook. Sunday was the worst. Probably at church, I guess, or something. I don't know. So Sunday was the least day where people just didn't seem to care as much about their Twitter account or their Facebook account, and they weren't checking it out. Morning seemed to be 39.7% more effective. However, the biggest time was 3 o'clock in the afternoon, but they said that morning seemed to be more effective if you over the latter. They also looked at what the best time was. Okay, I'm going to show you later how you can time messages and time tweets, so you don't have to have somebody sitting there at the computer. But just so you know, the best time that they saw the most interaction was the top of the hour, between 0 and 15 minutes. And I think the reason that happened was because if you think about it, it kind of makes sense. Most of us go from one meeting, we have an hour-long meeting, right? And we go from one to the next. So we might have just got back from a meeting, we sat back at our computer, it's the top of the hour, and we happen to hop on Facebook before we get into our messages and things like that. So they found that the top of the hour had the most interaction. Now, I tell you that information, but I really think you need to customize it for your own demographic, okay? Each of us, all of our businesses are different. Just like I told you 5 strategies, the strategy that you use for your business might be completely different than another one, okay? One of you might be interested in e-commerce, and that's what you're going to go after. One of you just might want to build trust, okay? So you really have to figure out what works for you. Just like this, you know, if your customer base or your client base or your prospects happen to be people, white-collar people who work 9 to 5 and they're on their computer all day, that might make sense to do what I just told you. If your target marker is blue collar that, you know, doesn't work during the, you know, they're out on the field during the day and they don't come home till later at night, like this says 65% only access while not at work or school, okay? If your demographic is only getting online late at night, maybe you need to adjust, okay? And if you know that, adjust. Don't listen to me, okay? Figure out what works for you. Okay, are we ready to get started now? We are. Whew. Step 5. Okay, now that you understand all of that, now you can get involved. Now we can start with our Facebook page. But so many people skip those first 4 steps. They don't even analyze any of that. They don't even know what works, what doesn't, how they're going to use it, and they just go and they create a page. And a lot of us did that. How many are guilty of that? Nobody wants to raise their hand. Yeah, how many are guilty of that? Yeah. So now I'm going to take you through the steps of creating a Facebook page really quick. I'm not going to go into details on this because most of you can figure out it's a pretty simple process. But I'm going to give you a few tips and tricks on how to do it right, or how I think you should do it right. The first thing you need to understand is a page versus a profile. This is the first big mistake that a lot of people make. Is instead of so when you go on Facebook and you first sign up, you have a profile, okay? You have a personal profile, okay? People can friend personal profiles, okay? They cannot like a personal profile. They can only friend you, okay? Once you have your personal profile, you can then make a page, a business page, okay? A lot of people make the mistake of trying to make a business page in a profile, okay? If you have a page right now, or I'm sorry, if you have a profile right now that you're using for your business, you need to change it. I would change it right now. Because, and I have people I know that did that, and Facebook, that's against the use policy of Facebook, and they will shut you down. And I've seen it happen twice, where you create your page, you create your profile, you called it, my business, and instead of name and first name, last name, you cheated and you said, you made it work, okay? If they know that if they figure out and they see that you've done that, they're going to close it down. And you'll beg them to turn it back on because you already have 500 friends that have been following you and you just lost all of your information, okay? You don't want that to happen to you. I had one company, they begged them to turn it back on, and they did it, and they didn't change it, and they turned it back off again. And then they finally went and made a page. So save yourself a lot of time, create a page. Do not set up a business account with a profile. It's the big first lesson. The second thing you need to know is you need to get creative with it, okay? So many of us just go and we throw it on there, blah, 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 and we're done, okay? You need to get creative. Just like a website, you need to have a little life into it. What's going to make yours different than everybody else that's going to keep them interested? Okay? First, you can think how you're going to use it creatively, I think. But you need to get creative with it. Use a large picture. So many people go and they just take their little logo or whatever, and that's what they put on there, okay? But you're limited to the width, but not the height. Here's a great example. A friend of mine, Brad Sugars, this is his photo. See how it's tall and it's got a slogan in there, the world's #1 business coaching firm, okay? And there's a little animated character of him, So you don't need to have just a small little photo in the upper left like we do for our own personal pages. Have somebody design a long, tall graphic, okay? That's the first thing you want to do. Use a large photo. The second thing you should do is create a custom landing page. This gets a little more complex and you might need help doing it. But all of us normally just have a wall, right? You don't need to do that. You want to use, write this down, FBML, Facebook Markup Language, FBML. There's an app out there called FBML that you can go search for and install, And it gives you this flexibility to make this custom page. And all this one is here, this is my book that I wrote that Lee mentioned earlier. But this is the fan page we have for the book. And I have over 1,000 fans on this page. And but what this is showing here is a custom landing page for this site. So you'll see the first thing right there at the top. It tells them what I want them to do. I want them to click like above to join the conversation. Okay? If they come to your page and they don't click like, you've just lost the whole opportunity of being able to connect with them ever again. Okay? That's what you want them to do. Tell them what you want them to do. It's really simple. And then you can make a custom graphic below that, and you can say whatever you want. It could be something inspirational, it could be whatever. So instead of just dumping them into the wall, the point here is that you actually give them some sort of custom page. And you can make as many custom pages as you want. A lot of people will put resources, they'll put links, they'll put different information. And once you install that app, that FBML app, it allows you to put standard HTML code in there and do this. This one here is basically, it's really simple. It's 2 lines of code that links to 2 different images. That's all it is. Okay? It's not a hard, difficult thing. So create a custom landing page. It's the second or third or whatever I'm on that you should do. The next thing I want you to do is adjust the permissions on the settings after you create it. Okay? I took this screenshot here, but basically in your page, if you go edit page, and then I think it's under permissions, you're going to see this. Okay? You'll see the thing in the middle there says default landing tab. I just changed it to be that custom welcome page that I made. By default, it's set to your wall, okay, which is what everybody can type on and what they see when they go there. So I've changed it so when anybody happens to land on my Facebook page, instead of seeing just the wall, they're going to see that custom page that I just created that it tells them that I want them to like us. Click that button above, okay? That's the first thing I want you to do. The second thing you should change in here is basically that wall tab shows all posts. You can either set it to where your wall only shows what you type in there, or it'll show what you and what other people comment on there. There's options there that say users can write or post comments on my wall, they can add photos. A lot of people limit that, but I don't think you should, at least initially, because that's where your customers or your fans can talk back to you, okay? Hello, that's what social media is about, okay? It's about interaction, it's about relationships. You don't want to limit their ability to do that, okay? You want them to ask questions, you want them to be involved. That's what makes it great. So why not, when people go to their wall, show what your customers are saying too, okay? Let them see that, okay? Somebody's going to go, oh, I know, but what if they say something bad about me? I'm going to cover that in a minute. But it's important that you have it there, okay? So those are the 2 settings that I want you to change, at least initially. Now, if you get a lot of fans and your fan grows to like over 1,000, you're probably going to start getting spam on your wall if you have your settings to this. If you have settings to where everybody can post on your wall and everybody can see it and it's the default, it's going to happen. You're going to start to see things. But I'll show you how to deal with that too. And if it gets too bad, you can always tweak it back, okay? You can always change it back. All right, so now we've created our fan page, right? And there's this feature called Suggest to Friends. Does everybody know about that? Everybody seen that? Suggest to Friends? Yeah, everybody's nodding? Okay, don't use it. Step 6, set up processes. I'm going to tell you why you shouldn't use it in a little bit. Step 6, write this down, set up processes. In my book, I think I had a whole chapter about systems and processes. As a business owner, I'm big into that. I think you need to have systems and processes in place about how things are going to happen in your company. And I think with social media, it's important that you do that before you get really involved. So I haven't even told anybody about my Facebook page that I just created at this point, okay? Haven't even got there yet. You need to figure out who does what, when, where, and how. Who in your company. Now, you've empowered everybody to get involved, right? But it's going to take that champion, or maybe that team of champions, or whoever it might be in your company. You may have a couple people that are involved in it. But ultimately, somebody's got to be responsible for who's going to do what, when, where, and how. In my company, we sit down every Monday, and we have a talk. And we say, what are we going to do this week, guys? What are the blog topics going to be about? Who's going to write it? what day are we going to launch it on, and who's going to do what and when. The core of your social media strategy, of your messages that you want to send out, when you want to send them, who are they going to go into, what's the target, which one of the 5 ways are we going after on this specific message, and who's going to do it, when. If you don't sit down and talk about it, figure it out, you're going to have a mess. Okay? You're going to have people duplicating efforts. Things are going to get done, 8 o'clock at night when your target market was at 11 a.m., and you're going to have a hodgepodge strategy. Okay? So have some sort of basic understanding of who's going to do what, when, and where, and how. This could be as simple as making an Excel chart. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, the times of the day. We're going to send out a tweet. We're going to do a Facebook post. We're going to whatever. Okay? Could be as simple as that. If you would like an example of that, we do this for a living, so we have charts like that, Excel. Hit me up, email me, Facebook me, whatever, and I'd be happy to send you one of those too along with your social media policy. Okay? But that's the most basic way of what you could do that for starters. More complex companies, more complex things. I'm not sure what you use personally, but I'm a big fan of Hootsuite, H-O-O-T, Suite. Okay? Hootsuite looks like this. It's basically a system that you can do that. You can have multi-users. You can schedule tweets. You can see what tweets or what messages are scheduled. In here, you can connect. All of them are in there. Your Twitter profile's in there. Your Facebook personal profile's in there. Your Facebook pages are all connected in there. Your LinkedIn account's in there. Your Foursquare account. And you can set up multiple users so you can all interact together. Okay? Everything can be done kind of from one central place. There is a free service for this, and there's a paid service. If you have under 5 accounts, like Facebook account and Facebook page, Twitter account, if you have under 5 of those, and you only have 1 user, there's only 1 of you, it's free to use. So go try it out. It doesn't cost you a dime. If you have multiple users and you need to interact, you can go to, I think it's unlimited, and then 2 users is like $5.99 a month. Okay, it's not a huge expense. If you're, we said a Facebook fan is worth what, at least $3.60, right? You get 2 fans, you paid for it right there, right? So it's not a huge expense, but I would really suggest, and there's other ones out there. You don't have to be married to this one just because I use it, but there's a lot of different solutions out there to keep track of it. The important thing I want you to understand is you need to have a strategy. You need to know when are we going to do things, why are we doing them, and go from there. After that, we monitor and engage. So now we've got tweets going out, we have Facebook things going out, status updates on our page. It might be a video that we link to on our page, might be a blog post that we link to on our page, but at different times, different days, we've got content going out, okay? So this is basically where now we're going to start getting feedback come back, right? We say, hey, check out this video. What do you think of it? Ask questions. What do you guys think of this video? Okay? Urge people to communicate and add dialogue to the conversation, okay? When they do that, you want to reply quickly. This is where it helps to have a team of people where you've engaged not just more than yourself to get involved with this, but hey, if somebody else in your company happens to be on that page and they see somebody comment, they can go in there and go, wow, thanks for sharing. That was cool. Glad you liked it. Okay? It doesn't always have to be you. Okay? So look at your dialogue with comments and make sure you're being involved. You monitor it and engage it. Okay? All right, so this was actually the number one thing that everybody wanted to know today. How do we make more money? Right? How do you get more fans? How do you get fans in the first place? I keep going back to this thing because this is what everybody does. They create a page and then they go and they suggest it to your friends. How many of you in the last month have got an email or got a message on Facebook that said, so-and-so suggests you become a fan of Fluffy's Fluff and Buff Dog Care? Yeah. And what did you do with it? Did you become a fan? No, and it annoyed you, didn't it? Because you're like, I don't even have a dog. Why do I want to be a fan of Fluffy's Fluff and Buff Dog Care? Why do I care, right? Okay, people, again, that's kind of an intrusive thing, okay? We need to understand as business owners, you need to earn your invitation. That's what it's all about. You need to gain their respect enough that they want to become a fan of you, okay? So ignore the suggest a friends button for right now and do these other things that I'm going to tell you about. Give away something. I just told you that 40% of the people like somebody because they get something for free. So why don't we do that? It should be the first thing we do. Set up a little contest and say, hey, when we get to 100 fans, we're going to give away a $50 gift certificate to such and such, to one of our fans. When we get to 500, we're going to give an even bigger prize. When we get to 1,000, we'll give away an iPod. You know they're worth $3.60 for every one of them, so you should be able to get that $500, right? Cost you to give it away. But give something away. Have a strategy around giving something away. Do that as a strategy, and then people will say, hey, they're giving away so-and-so over on this, your page, and they'll want to join it. Tag fans in photos. This is the second thing. Write that down. Another strategy to get fans is to tag fans in photos. Here's an example. We did a golf outing this summer, the Chamber Golf Outing. And I'm not even sure who that is riding that keg there, but it was later in the day, obviously. But, I guess you can't see it too well up there, can you? But it was, again, you can, we had a golf outing. We had people coming through our booth, or through our tee box, and we took photos of everybody. We uploaded them to Facebook, and we tagged them. The people we knew went and tagged them, and people got a notice that they were tagged, and then people went and commented on it, like, wow, look at you riding the keg. How much you have to drink, It was fun. People had a good time with it. So that's one way that you can make people aware, like, oh, I didn't even know this page existed, but I see that, they posted a photo about you or about somebody that they know, okay? It's an easy way to inadvertently let people know you exist and that it's out there. It's not intrusive, though. Embed widgets or icons. So this is basically simply putting your, join us on Facebook logo on your website, okay? Now that you have a page, put it on your website. And I always like to say, join the conversation. When you add it, I always like to use the word join the conversation. Don't, everybody's going to say fan us on, or friend us on Facebook, or fan us on Facebook, like us on Facebook. Again, inherently they don't want to do it. So if you say join the conversation, it shows that maybe there's something of value there that's of value to them. Okay, so it's a different way of saying it. You add it to e-newsletters. If you're sending out e-newsletters, maybe you'll write a post saying, hey, we're on Facebook now. But then more than that, make sure that on every newsletter that goes out, you've got a little icon there again too. We're on Facebook. Make sure they know. There's widgets like this. You can go into the settings of how to promote your page on Facebook. There's a setting that says promote. And there's all kinds of little widgets that you can do that you basically go through, and they just give you code like this. Gives you code. You give this to your developer, and you say, throw this on my homepage. And it shows just like that. There's a little thing. People can like it right from there on your homepage. They can see a little bit about what goes on. They can see that there's some other people. Down there's 1,046 people like Jobless by Alan D. Carroll. They go, oh, wow, there's 1,000 other people that are interested in this. Maybe I should be too. Okay, it's one way to get it out there. Store displays. If you have a retail business, why isn't there signage around your business saying that you're on Facebook and that there's something of value, that maybe you're doing a contest? Hey, we're giving away an iPod there over on Facebook. Check it out. Okay? Why don't you have something in your store? It's your point of purchase display. Maybe on your windows as they're walking by, or on their doors or walking in. This is an example of one that we have at our place right now, but on our door when you walk into our office, we got chicken on Facebook, and we're donating $5 to Toys for Tots. And that's called a Facebook deal. Okay, I'm going to go through that in a little bit and show it to you, but it's one of the deals that they can do. Okay, so by them checking in, we'll donate $5 to Toys for Tots. You can add it to your signature line of your emails. Okay, have all your employees do this. You just at the bottom, after you put your name and your phone number, why not have one line says that you're on Facebook and the link to where you're at? It's really simple. How many of us send like 100 emails a day? I know I do. Yeah, it's one way to just get it out there that people know. It's not intrusive. You're not asking them to do anything, but they might see it and they might act. Take advantage of it. Use the @ tag. This is I love this. This is another non-obtrusive thing. How many of you know about the @ tag? Okay, not even half. Okay, when you're typing a status update, like here I pretended to start saying 50% off of, and I was going to say Jobless book, okay? 50% off, and you put the @ symbol, okay, right in your status update, and it'll pop up a list of all your pages and friends that start with that letter. In this case, I put J-O, and it gave me jobless because I was typing jobless. And it came up with Joe Milbach and Teresa Jordan, okay? And then what happens is I go and I select Jobless by Ellen D. Carroll there, and then it makes a link. So when I go and I hit enter on my page, on my own personal page, now there's a link to Jobless by Ellen D. Carroll on my personal page. So I could say, hey, I just heard there was a sale over at whatever, or, and I put that on there and I link to my page. Or maybe it's a blog post and say, hey, I took this time to write this really interesting blog post about whatever, and it's up over at CWS. Okay? It's a non-obtrusive way, you're not really asking them to do anything, but there's a link right there for them. It's very convenient for them to know about it and see what's going on. Okay? Use the @ tag. Use it sparingly. You don't need to use it on every single post you do on your personal page. But every so often, I'll throw something in there about something that happened at my company maybe. Today I could have said I'm doing a seminar for CWS and put that link on there. If people want to click on it, they can. If they don't, they don't. Use apps. There's all kinds of apps out there. There's survey apps, there's poll apps that you can install basically just by searching for surveys or promotions. There's a promotion app that you can use. But what's great about apps is when you do things and you get, first and foremost, they get people involved. It gives them something to do on your page, right? It might be a little survey like, what did you think of this seminar today? I liked it, I hated it, I whatever, okay? It's really something quick, 2 seconds they can click to like, But what's great about a lot of the apps is most of the time they have viral components built in to post it on their wall. So-and-so just voted in this poll, and it tells them about your page. Okay? It tells them about what they just did. Okay? So it's great that you can use those because then it's just a little bit more of that viral component. Use deals. As I told you before, the thing that you guys cared the most about, or the least about, was using deals, coupons, and promotions, okay, in the survey results. That was the least thing that all of you wanted to learn about today. I think, personally, this is huge. This is big. I think it's going to be really big. It's my personal opinion. Time will tell. But I think it's a brilliant idea, Facebook deals. Let me explain what they are, okay? How many people have a smartphone here? Oh, that's almost half. That's awesome. Okay. If you have, first, by the way, too, here's another interesting statistic for you. People who have smartphones are 50 times more active on Facebook than people who aren't. These are the people who are on Facebook all day long on their phone, okay? They're at stoplight, they're checking what's going on, they're tweeting, or they're driving. No. They're 50 times more active on Facebook than people who don't have a smartphone, okay? I think that more people are going to get smartphones in the future. It's just a guess. But I would guess 10 years from now, you're not even going to be able to buy a phone that doesn't do a lot of the stuff that you can today. So as more and more people gain smartphones, more and more people learn how to use them, they're going to be interested in things like this, Facebook deals. There's 4 types of deals right now that you can use as a company. There's an individual deal, and that's really simple. Check in at my location and you get 20% off. Or you get a free cup of coffee, or you get a buy one, get one free, whatever, okay? This is especially important if you're a retail location. Okay, if you're a bar, restaurant, anything like that, you need to get on this like fast. Okay, it's my advice. The second way is a friend deal. So basically, that would be a deal that if when you check in, I tag 3 other friends, which is what you can do, then you can get that deal. A loyalty deal is like the punch card. If a person checks into your location 4 times, then they get a free drink or something like that. Okay, a loyalty type program. A charity deal is the thing that I showed you that we do, whereas if you check in, we'll donate something to charity. Okay, that's a charity deal. Those are the 4 types of deals that you can use. And basically, it looks like this. What happens is when you go on Facebook and you go to check in, it shows you all the things that are around you, because phones are smart now and they know where you're at. So they use GPS location services and they know what's around you. And the ones that have deals or coupons or specials will have a little flag next to them that show that there's a special that you can be redeemed at that business. Okay? If you click on that, basically they see this. So this is H&M, and now the deal is 20% off the entire purchase at this location. So all I got to do is check in, and I'll get 20% off. Now there's some really great deals that are coming down the pipeline. Chipotle 2 for 1 is one of my favorites that I can't wait for it to come out. But that's a heck of a deal, 2 for 1 burritos. So it's a huge incentive for consumers to take advantage of it. But here's the value of it to you as a business owner, okay? When I gave this seminar like a year ago, I talked about how brilliant the whole liking thing was, or actually it was fanning at that point in time. But when somebody fans you or likes you, right, it posted on your wall that you became a fan of Jobless, okay? And all their friends would see that and how cool that was, right? The whole viral marketing component. Well, the problem with that is they only do it once, and then it's gone. The brilliant thing with deals is they keep coming back. They're going to keep coming back. Every time they go to Starbucks in the morning, they're going to keep coming back to do it over and get that deal again. Why not? If I'm buying a cup of coffee, I might as well get 10% off, right? And when they do that, when they check in at Starbucks or at your business, it goes on their wall that they just checked in at your location. And they got this deal. They just got 10% off at Starbucks. Tells all their 500 friends that just happened. And they're going to do it every day. Okay? And if they tag people, when they do it, if Lee and I are at Starbucks together and we tag it, and I get the deal, it goes on his wall too. So now all his friends see it too. And it's going to keep happening over and over and over again. And people are going to learn about specials and coupons and things that are going on. Like, wow, I didn't know there was a deal for 2 for 1 burritos at Chipotle. That's pretty cool. Or I didn't know there was this, or I didn't know there was that. And it has this whole viral component into it. I think it's awesome, and I think it's going to be big. I would get involved with it. The thing you need to know about deals is you have to claim your place first. Okay? When you check in at a place, this is for the business owners in here, you need to claim your place. Okay? Here's how you do that. On your smartphone, go to check in. You're going to see your place probably in the list, okay? Because they pull, I don't know where they get their data. I don't know if it's Google Maps or where they're getting it from, but most of the time you're going to see the location, your business, in that list already, okay? If not, you can add it, but if you see it, you just click on it, okay? Check in there. Check in at your place. Now it just posted on your wall that you just checked in at your own business, okay? Go to your computer, go to that page, go to your wall, and click on the link that it just had your place, okay, where it just told you that you checked in, okay? In the bottom left is going to be a button that says, claim this place. I think it says, is this place yours? Claim it. And you can click on that, and it takes you through a process to claim your place. Now, you have to send them a utility bill or something like that to be able to show proof that you actually own that place, but then you can claim it, okay? And then that gives you the ability to do deals. You can't set up deals until you've claimed your place and prove that you own the place, which is probably a good thing because you don't want your competitor giving 100% off at CWS today. That'd be a bad deal. Okay? The other thing you can do after you've claimed your place is you can merge your page with your place. Okay? It's an option. So I would suggest you do that too. Merge your place with your page. Have I thoroughly confused everybody at this point? Yeah. Okay. I know it's complex. Hit me up. I'd be happy to help explain. I'm a teacher by heart, so I'd be happy to help explain. So I just gave you a whole bunch of things that you can use, okay, to gain fans, right? I always come back to this. Then maybe use the Suggest a Friends feature, okay? You need to do all these other things first before you just suggest to friends, okay? Because the Suggest a Friends probably isn't going to work that great anyways. It did a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, but people are smarter than that now, and they're annoyed by it, okay? But you might want to go through and maybe you want to maybe you want to suggest to friends and pick your mom. My mom is a friend of mine. So, you pick a few people, okay? All right, the last thing I want to talk about today, how are we doing on time?
We're great.
Good. The last thing I want to talk about is negative feedback. Because this is probably one of the biggest objections that I hear of people, why they don't want to get involved with Facebook or why they don't want to get involved with social media is people say, well, I'm afraid people will say bad things about me. They'll complain and everybody else will see it and it'll be horrible. Well, the first thing I tell people is, yeah, right. They will complain. Make sure your business practices are solid. Because if you have a whole bunch, if you're doing a crappy job running your company, they are going to talk bad about you. Because the only thing social media does is it magnifies whatever is really going on in your company. So fix those problems first, okay? But people are going to talk about you on Facebook and Twitter and whether you're there or not. Whether you're involved with it or not, they're going to be talking about you. So you might as well be involved in it, okay? The first thing you need to do, I think there's 4 types of negative feedback. Write that down. 4 types of negative feedback. And the response and what you do with that feedback, I think, depends on what type of feedback it is, okay? The first one is straight problems, okay? This is somebody who has an issue with your company. They have a problem. They can't do this. They can't do that. Ran across this problem. They post it on your wall. I wasn't able to log in, or whatever it was. Your response to this should always be, you should always respond to this type of thing, okay? You need to, depending on the type of the problem and how many people it affected, it's probably going to determine your response. But you should always respond to problems. Thank you for letting me know about this. I've either solved the problem or, yes, this affected a whole lot of people and we wrote a whole blog post about it here or whatever. But you should definitely respond to a problem. The second type of feedback, negative feedback, that you may get is constructive criticism. These are suggestions, things like that. I don't like the way you do this. I think you should do it this way. Okay? You should always respond to these too. Every time. Thank you for your suggestion. Now, you may not want to implement them half the time that you get, but you should always thank them. Thank you for providing feedback. Thank you for the suggestion. We're looking into it. Okay? You should always respond to constructive criticism. The third type of negative feedback is a merited attack. Okay? This is somebody who is attacking you. They're saying you did a horrible job, and it's usually because you screwed up, frankly. Okay? You messed up. They're mad. They attacked it. They wrote it out there on your wall, and they complained about it. You should always respond to this too, and let them know, okay, maybe we did mess up. Here's what we're doing about it. Here's what we're doing to fix it. Thank you for letting us know. It can be as simple as that. Okay? But always remember, usually these merited attacks, you always need to remember, it's a lot of times we take them personally as business owners, like, why quit complaining about me. And we take it personally, why are you attacking me? But we need to understand that most of the time they're rooted in a problem. Most of the time these people have a problem. And that's why they're mad. That's why they're upset in the first place. Okay? So try to not take it personal. Try to respond professionally. But again, these usually almost always warrant some sort of response that you should put out there and leave out there for everybody to see. Okay? The last type of negative feedback is trolling and spam. These are basically people who have no reason to be attacking you or no reason to be saying anything. You don't know who they are. They're not customers. You know nothing about it. They've spammed on your wall. They might even be a competitor. They're trying to make a competitor look good. Some sort of negative feedback like that. Do not respond. Delete it. These types of things don't require a response. They should not be left on your wall. Just delete them. Okay? If it's spam for no reason, or it's not a merited attack, they have no reason to be contacting you, no reason to be doing anything, I say just delete it. Okay? So those are the 4 types of negative feedback. Okay? All right, so I'm wrapping up here. Hopefully you took lots of notes, and you have 7 steps. Should be how many? 7. 7 steps to developing a strategy, and you have some strategies as far as how to get fans without being annoying or intrusive. okay? I do have a shameless plug in here for my book. I did write a book earlier today. There is a lot, actually, I wrote this book literally this year. There's stories in here about how I've used social media to build relationships. This foreword was written by Brad Sugars. For any of those people who have attended one of my previous seminars, I talked about how I friended him. He's the CEO and the owner of Action Coach. It's an international company. But I talk about that in my book, and I talk about how I use social media to build and strengthen relationships, which is very important for my business. Our business is very trust-based.
Alan DeCarroll is an amazing individual, and I've heard him speak at numerous events. Every time I hear him, he's fun, he's inspirational. I would absolutely attend another Facebook strategy meeting. I think these are really important. I think the technology is changing more and more.
Today's seminar was really interesting because of the fact of you can teach an old dog new tricks, but the aspect of social media and where it's grown in the past to where it's growing now is just tremendous, and you need to keep up on the latest technology, the latest information, and how to connect with your customers. Alan's presentation is very straightforward, very honest. He doesn't try to add any fluff to it. What's nice about his presentation is it's a straightforward, honest approach to marketing.
Today's Facebook seminar I found to be extremely powerful. There was a lot of information I didn't know about, and I feel for my clients with an advertising agency, I'll be able to take that and actually execute. I really liked what Alan DeCarroll had to say because he gave me actual steps that I can execute for my clients. There was a lot of information that I know I have some clients that are a little shy to try Facebook and understand how it can actually be tangible in their business. And there was a lot of information as to how it actually translates into dollars. And also information I can use that reinforces what I've been saying. So now I have some experts to back up what I've been telling clients all along. Well, you know, I've heard Alan DeCarroll speak before. I've read his book. So I'm obviously already a fan both on Facebook and in real life.
Well, we have already been on Facebook for a little while, and just being able to get additional tools to better utilize what is available through Facebook to help the History Center. There's a lot of different things that we were unaware of that I think will help us to generate additional interest as well as visitors to the museum. I thought he was a very good presenter. I thought he very much kept the attention of the audience. It was offered very good information that I think would be beneficial to people either just getting started out or even those who had probably been in for a while. I certainly would consider it, either myself or having other staff come and attend, because I think it's an important tool, social media, that will help nonprofits in general.
At today's seminar, we learned more information about how to build a landing page for our Facebook fan page that we have for the Rochester Convention and Visitors Bureau. We had been talking about it for some time, about building it or hiring an outside company to create it, but today we learned how simple it is and that we could possibly do it ourselves. It ran the gamut. It started out very simple as far as how to do some things, but it didn't dwell in that market of, or that area of spending too much time on the simple side, and then it went into some more details for some advanced users as well. So it really did have a great range to it. Alan DeCarroll's presentation style was very helpful in that he had bulleted points that I could actually take away and take home today and utilize in the workplace. I would. We attended the first Facebook seminar a little over a year ago and thought that that was very useful, and we attended this one today hoping to find some of those new tips and tricks, and we certainly came away with that.